What's up, guys? This is D22 So Wayne Chiang, and this is the PokerCraft podcast on Live with the Bike. Special guest, Marco Galindo, super fan. You're also in the chat.
Yes,
You're also in the
yes,
chat.
yes.
And I'll also shout you out when I see you. Sometimes I'm not looking at the chat.
Yeah. I get the notification on my phone, so I always tune in.
Yeah.
Literally like
Professional.
yeah.
Like
all
they
the
were
time.
saying last Friday that, Garrett usually looks pretty buff, and then,
Sure.
next to you, he's little tiny.
On Tuesday they were saying, who is it? Kitty Quo. She calls Nick Musclefish,
Yeah.
but then she called me Musclefish, and then Nick was medium fish, medium musclefish. So
Well, sometimes
Yeah.
the muscle fish beat the medium muscle
it's
fish.
true, man. It's true.
So, tell us about the Marco Galindo story and how you
Yep.
got into poker.
Man, full story. So it's kind of interesting how I got into poker. So poker I didn't really get into until probably I don't know, maybe like 6 years ago, something like that. I was about 20 years old when I actually got into it.
21's legal, right?
Well, no, so
Kidding.
actually in Florida,
Yeah.
which is where I'm from.
Oh, okay.
So actually, no, I'm from here, born and raised here actually.
Oh, in LA?
Literally, I think like Bellflower Hospital. So
Oh,
like,
wow.
literally,
Holy cow.
yeah,
So
literally.
you're basically coming back home.
Coming back. Yeah, I grew up here in Downey. So,
Wow.
yeah, no, man, like 10, 15 minutes from here. It's
sick, yeah.
funny, my dad used to play here all the time. All the time. This is like forever ago, like 20, 25 years ago. But, yeah, so I started playing in Florida when I was like 20, legal age is 18 there, so I'm good. Yeah, just normal stuff, dude, like tournaments of friends, right? 10, 15, $20 tournaments, whatever it is. And then from that, started playing live, got crushed, like in 1-2, like the normal,
That's normal, yeah.
normal stuff. Started breaking even. I was like, all right, time to break even. Let's go up to 2-5. Got crushed there for a while. So yeah, just kind of that's kind of the story. Just fell in love with it immediately. Love the competitive aspect of it. It's also around the time probably then is when I started watching Live at the Bike. So I've been a subscriber for years. I think my account says like since 2016 or something.
Okay.
But just watching, I was watching. Yeah, you
get
can count it
better.
back then. Say it again.
You get better after watching.
100% get better after watching.
That's
Yeah,
why, guys,
people-
subscribe. Hit that subscribe button and smash that thumbs
Yeah,
up.
like that's not a joke, man. Some of the guys that commentate, it's crazy what they'll teach you.
Yeah.
If you really listen. And then also just watching these guys play, man. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
A lot of
watching these
legit
guys.
grinders from over the years.
100%. Yeah.
A lot of us have online and live backgrounds too.
Yeah.
And like in this day and age, because Americans can't access online that easily, then it's hard to get hands.
Right.
So it's like to manually go through the hands. This is basically the next best replacement. You just leave it
100%.
on the background when
Yeah.
you're doing other stuff.
That's really kind of how I'm able to watch so much. Is like I really like. I always feel like Garrett. I was talking to Garrett about it yesterday. It's almost like a sales pitch when I say this, but it's true. I don't play much, like at all. Actually, like the
Yeah.
last time I played before this week was when I was here in November. The last time before that was months earlier. I really just don't get to play, like just with my life,
Sure.
businesses, my wife,
Yeah.
my baby. Like I just don't have the time. So tuning into Live at the Bike when I get the notification on my phone,
Get
I
your
can
fix.
Yeah, literally though. Like I put my earphones in and I can be doing whatever.
Right.
But I'm still listening. I'm watching, and that's that is kind of how I get my fix. And even just in small things like that, I feel like it allows you to learn, listen, actually get better. I can go months without playing. Like, I don't know when the next time I'll play. Maybe I won't play until I come back here in a couple of months, But, like, it allows me to still love it, still watch, and really be able to learn, which is, like the coolest part. So
So you want
for
to talk
sure.
about your bodybuilding businesses?
So it's funny. I always have to correct people. So I own supplement stores, right?
Yeah.
So we're called Total Nutrition, South Florida. We're like in people think Miami, Fort Lauderdale. I'm more north, so we're in Palm Beach County.
Yeah.
So I have 3 locations out there. And same thing, I've been doing that since I was 20, 2014. I just turned 26. 2014 opened my first store. And then we've kind of expanded a little bit since then. So I'm not a bodybuilder. I'm a competitive powerlifter.
Okay.
So a slight difference. People think bodybuilder just because being a bigger guy, like working out and stuff. But powerlifting is more about actually lifting like heavy weights,
Mm-hmm.
to where bodybuilding is just more like get up there, oily, tan, you know,
It's the whole point
and
of the show,
pose.
Mythbusters. I don't know what's going
No,
on,
no,
so I get
no. Most
educated. Yeah.
most people really just don't know the differences. They think they're very similar. They're
Yeah.
pretty different.
Mhm.
They both involve going to the gym a lot, you
Right.
know. So
Yeah.
you're lifting, you're lifting. Mine is just more like heavier weight stuff. To where bodybuilding is just about more so how you look.
Mhm.
So to me, it's just more
Right.
like how heavy can I lift
Right.
these certain movements.
So you're like authentically strong, not just looks.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Some of these big guys, not so
Bang
much.
bang. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Shout out to Garrett again.
Just kidding.
So yeah, just yeah. So just small differences with that.
What's is there like a peak age range that?
Yeah, somewhere now, right?
Yeah.
Usually, like athletics in general, it's always going to be like 20, 21 to like 29, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I just turned 26, so this is heading into like what
Your
is
prime.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Just trying to stay injury free, not you know,
Yeah.
because that's a part of lifting too.
That's part of like everything competitive. Yeah.
100%.
I mean,
Yeah.
even something like video games, which looks like
Sure.
not. I mean, obviously not as physical,
Sure,
strenuous.
sure.
You're going to get carpal tunnel. You know?
100%.
It's
I
like-
know people that have gotten carpal
Yeah.
tunnel through.
I was
video
on my
games.
way there.
Yeah. No, some of like my gaming buddies, just
Yeah.
and you got to give it up, and it's terrible.
Yeah.
But same thing in lifting. Guys will tear hamstrings and biceps and pecs. It's insane just
Yeah.
doing like simple movements. So yeah, it's interesting. It's also just another thing to keep you disciplined,
Right.
right? So much of poker, so much of like I'm sure we'll talk about like some of the hands and stuff later. All these high stakes guys, it just takes a ton of discipline. You're good.
I got it to work. Okay, thanks.
You're good. You're good.
Shout out to Brian Urakaki. He wasn't available. I had to fix everything myself. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Also,
No, Brian is just the miracle worker.
he's the guy.
Yeah,
Man. He's,
like you don't see him, but he's doing all, and you see
Right.
this whole setup.
I
Man.
know,
He
it's
controls all of this. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Before he's coming in, he's coming out. He's
Brian,
making sure.
I need help.
Yeah.
Please help me.
He's like the grinder of all grinds. He's here
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
Like he's really doing it. So yeah. So yeah, that's kind of how it is with
It's awesome.
like the businesses and stuff. And
What are you going to transition into after like your prime for?
so I think I'll always still be lifting and hopefully even still competing.
Mhm.
Just not necessarily trying to compete at like the highest of highest levels, right? Like
Yeah.
ever since I started, I was talking to Chris.
Chris
about
Brewer?
it yesterday. Chris Brewer about it yesterday.
Chris and Garrett are runners. Yeah.
Runners, yeah. And he actually told me some like really cool thing that I'm actually going to look into about genes. We were just talking about different things. And anyways, he was saying how like, you kind of got to find your way after competing at the highest of highest levels, chasing records, national records, world records, things like that. Like eventually that's going to stop.
Can't do it.
Eventually,
Yeah.
nah, you can't do that forever. So like, I don't know. I always want to have it a part of me,
Yeah.
And I think it
It'll
actually
never
really
leave
will.
you.
No, 100%.
But yeah, just like it's a reality that
Always.
even poker. I was talking with I have a podcast with Darren Elias, unreleased yet.
Yeah.
Poker, you're kind of done when you're 35, like peak performance.
Right.
You just can't
What?
grind
So
as many
why
hours.
though? Is that really what?
Well, so a lot of us have other responsibilities, and just like the games are tougher,
Yeah.
like people are less interested.
Yeah.
Like the solvers coming out a few years ago. I mean, I shouldn't say a few years. I mean, I don't even know when the point was where solvers were tipping over and just influencing the game. So I started live, and then online came out, and then there's software called Hold'em Manager / Poker
Yeah.
Tracker, and when you're exposed to those kind of stats, then like old live ways of playing
Just
get kind of
different.
outdated.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you have people's aggression frequencies, like when to induce the bluff,
Sure.
how much to value bet, and so on. So it's just like, and now the stuff that I was doing when it was groundbreaking back then is just like so normal, and now
Right.
people are just using
Everybody
way
has it,
more. Yeah,
100%.
everybody, not just everyone has it. They can use the numbers a lot better than
Even
when
what
I was
you guys-
using it.
right,
Yeah,
right.
because
I-
just like it's a natural progression.
I set up a little bit differently because like some of the more like higher stakes guys,
Yeah.
they don't play much, right? And my thing is like, well, it's one, I think just because games don't run.
Yeah.
Two, it seems a lot of it is like these guys make so much money, right? Eventually, like the family aspect of getting older, like I'm 26, I'm already married, I have
Yeah.
a baby, a newborn, she's 8 months old. So like I understand, hey, the other responsibility thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm also not a professional,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm a super rec player, don't play that much. So like for those guys, I always just thought it was more a thing of like, these guys make so much money. Eventually, it just stops being like super interesting,
That's
or
part
the
of
game
it.
just doesn't run.
So the problem with the poker industry is it works different from other industries.
Yeah.
The better you get, nobody wants to play with you. If you're a TV player, like say
Right.
Garrett Adelstein or Andy, or even me, like
Sure.
they'll play with you like one or two times.
100%. And then get
Then
out
it's
here.
it. Yeah, get
Right.
out of here, right? So
right.
like,
Especially
yeah,
if you win-win, right?
yeah, exactly.
Right.
So you see a lot of, and this is something that I think a lot of us adopted from that 2005 generation, like Negreanu, Helmuth, Esfandiari, Phil Locke, is that they parlay their fame into
Other things.
other things.
Makes
It's not
sense.
just they still play,
Sure.
but they can play with like private games with
Sure.
wealthy businessmen
Exactly.
and like somebody like let's just be clear, like Esfandiari, Daniel Negreanu, Phil Helmuth, despite people not liking Helmuth on TV
Sure,
or
sure.
he's a lot more fun to play with in person for
sure.
some rich guy.
100%.
So
Specifically versus the quiet, average, high
yeah,
stakes pro.
with the headphones,
Right. Nobody wants that.
and that's something that like Negreanu was ripping on him, and it just like I'm a little bit more just like when you're younger, you gotta learn your skill sets anyway.
Yeah.
All that social stuff, everyone picks up like on the
Sure.
way and then later on, and then
Figure it out.
yeah, nobody's born like knowing this stuff.
Yeah.
So it's, in my opinion, Pete, they should be educated,
Right.
not like berated, because you just sound like this old parent, just be like, don't do this, don't do this. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, just different. That's what I always thought, like, separated. Because with athletics, it's like, your body just starts to deteriorate.
Yeah.
But with something like poker or
There's a lot of issues. Yeah.
Yeah,
So like
I'm just
your
like,
body
man.
does deteriorate in
Sure.
a sense that you can't grind. People have mentioned that I could get back into it if I wanted to. I was in the beginning. I'm like, nah, you know what? I don't want to be disrespectful to the younger generation,
Right.
and it's probably true that they're super talented
Sure.
and hotshots. But yeah, I get it. When I see some other people like say Prahlad Friedman, who was highly influential to my game, can you get back to him? And I'm just like, oh yeah, absolutely, it's freaking Prahlad Friedman. Then that's how I see when people like view me.
Exactly.
I'm like, okay, if I worked at it,
Sure.
I could go back. It's just I don't want to.
Right.
It's a really bad life.
Right. And it's also the small chance of like, hey, you really, really, really work at it and still may not have the outcome you actually want.
Yeah.
Right. Versus getting into more business stuff. It's more not that not the business is
Oh,
easy,
no.
because it's
Yeah,
very
yeah.
difficult.
Yeah.
But it's more of a sure chance depending on the business that you're in versus, hey, let me just go grind the high stakes again.
Yeah,
You know?
and like it's just getting tougher. There's less money.
Right.
Business is like the world and the future is your
Sure.
oyster,
100%.
kind of. So
Right.
that's what a lot of us like wake up to. And who was I talking to? Kelly Minkin. Before the podcast I had with Kelly Minkin, we were discussing like we're lucky because we have other skill sets. So like some poker players, that's all they do.
Right.
And it's if you're like this goes out to all you guys. Just learn as many skill sets as possible. You never know what's going to come in handy. But yeah, back to the poker thing is it's like in every other industry, the better you get, more people want to work with you.
Always.
In poker,
Yeah.
the better you get, the less people want to play with
Sure.
you unless you're like famous or you're teaching them or something like
Correct.
that. And then after that, it's
Still going to be
Yeah.
shady. Right.
So, and the thing is, like, unlike other industries, like say bodybuilding, once you can lift a certain thing,
Sure.
you're going to do that for a while. With
Right.
poker, if somebody's better than you,
Yeah.
he could still lose. Like
Sure.
he's just
I
beat
know,
up
I
the
know, I
losing
know.
hand. So
That's why poker's great, though.
right, exactly.
Yeah, no, that's why it's because it's like even coming here this week, right? It's a thing of like versus any specific lineup on any day, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. I got to play all 3 days. Luckily, I'm not a favorite in any lineup, but like
I don't know about that,
I was
but-
no, but I was.
It's tough. Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So,
there's
like-
some guys that study a lot and grind a lot.
100%. But like I can still come out and play, right?
Yeah.
People are like, now I'm getting DMs. How do you get on the show? I'm like, you just reach out.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah,
not. I'm like,
that's true.
there's no secret. There's no nothing. I was like, I think it probably helps a little bit. Like
Yeah.
the fact that I'm not a professional.
Well,
that may help.
if
but
you have
like,
if you have a following, that helps.
it's true. I'm sure that helps too.
Yeah.
But like, you just reach out, right?
Yeah.
It's not like impossible to get into these games.
Yeah.
We played 6-handed, then 5-handed, then 4-handed hours off stream yesterday, anybody could have hopped in. Like nobody,
Yeah.
nobody showed up. That's fine.
Two
But, like,
people. Well, yeah, Jeremy was
Sure,
waitlisted.
I'm sure,
Like what
yeah.
happened was Maria Ho was sick,
Sure.
and then Nick had a business thing, and then Jeremy Levin was in line, and then of course
Right.
this other. I don't want to mention him in case he didn't show up, but
Yeah, I don't think you did.
okay.
Yeah, because I played for hours off stream.
Yeah.
And nobody else showed up. My point is like, we played 6, then 5, then 4. Anybody could have showed up, right? Like anybody could have gotten in.
Sure.
Just nobody did. So like,
Oh no, it's frequently people like
Yeah.
talk, and then I'm like,
100%.
oh, seat open, and they're like,
that.
you know
yeah.
what? No, I'm just like,
That's
all
kind of
right.
my thing too. Of like,
Yeah.
I'm an avid viewer. I'm a Live at the Bike fan. Like, but then hey, I can actually come out, get in the game, and play. Right, so like whoever wants to say whatever about Marco's terrible, blah blah blah. This guy, in
Oh,
the
the chat pros, yeah.
yeah, all the chat pros. But and even if I'm not that person that hops in the chat or
Yeah,
some
yeah.
people. But even if say I was that guy, then guess what? I can come out here and prove it.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
can win or I can lose, and I
Right.
can do it in front of everybody for everybody to watch. It's the coolest thing.
Yeah.
About like the Live at the Bike experience and what you guys have built. But also just not even trying to get on that. Just more so a thing of like anybody can come in, anybody can play.
Yeah.
Reach out, schedule it out. I know the scheduling thing
Oh
is like
my
a joke.
God, it's terrible.
Insane.
Yeah.
I know. It's crazy.
Everybody sees them on tilt. It's like
Right.
I've probably broken more mice from this than online poker.
Yeah, like trying to deal with and people canceling
Yeah.
and being late. I was late. First day I was 20, 30
It's
minutes or whatever.
Yeah, I know. It's
like,
very common.
Yeah,
And most
so
of the thing
like-
is, as long as you show up, you
100%.
know, it's like
100%. Not, yeah, exactly. So like, yeah, there's so much that goes into it, but it's still a thing of like, this is Live at the Bike, and you can, if you get in, you can get in, and you can play, and you can play for everybody to see, and that's the coolest part about just being able to come out here.
So now that you played on camera,
Sure.
it's so much harder, right? Playing
Sure.
on camera.
Yeah.
People don't know. They
Yeah,
don't
no,
realize.
so for sure. I think I was so much more. It's funny because even before when I came out here in November,
Yeah,
I wasn't
have that
even.
clip. I have a couple
Yeah,
of
I
them,
wasn't even really nervous to play until the actual lights come on, and then it's like those lights in front of you. There's lights
Yeah.
behind you.
It's like hot too. Yeah.
I mean, it feels like
Yeah.
even hot in here right now.
Yeah.
It gets hot, and then you see people that you're used to seeing on my phone or
Yeah.
on TV when I'm watching. So then
like,
it's like.
I'm not gonna talk trash anymore.
Right, and then eventually you settle down.
Yeah.
Right. I think what really helped too when I came in November too was I came and played a couple hours. Me and my buddy went to the Laker game, and then I came back and played off stream. Off stream, first of all, the game runs till forever.
Yeah.
Specifically on Fridays,
Yeah.
for the most part, and off stream it was also cool because then you just get to really know everybody.
Right.
Then coming back this time, I was so much less nervous. Right. Still probably like. It's funny, even some of the rewatching of myself, like I feel like my face, like I'm too serious, like just dumb stuff that I'm like, oh, I hate this. I don't like being that guy, the serious, like I'm not that
Kind of have
person.
to with these kind of stakes.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is like in my mind, I kind of know I have to, but then
Yeah.
visually looking at it, I'm like, oh, what are you doing? Like what the hell? But it's a thing of like, yeah, is it nerve-wracking? For sure. It's different. It's not a normal game. Everybody's like, oh yeah, it's normal. It's not normal. No. Your first couple times even, it's not going to be normal.
And like when you're facing a bet, like
Sure.
you're the only one that doesn't see the other
100%.
guy's cards.
I know.
Everybody on.
I know.
Yeah,
Even in rewatching, just by like, there's obviously you're gonna make so many bad plays.
Oh,
Like,
sure,
I had a
yeah.
couple suicide bluffs this week. A couple worked, a couple did not. But like looking back at it, it's like, man, bet more, bet less, bet the
Yep.
turn. Why didn't you do it? But it's easy. You see the cards.
Oh, yeah,
When you don't see it, you don't know. In your head, you're thinking something. It also like semi-tilts you when like you listen to the commentary after and the commentary saying something that you're not
Oh.
even thinking, or like you're like, maybe I should have been thinking that, but really I was thinking. So like all that
It's
goes
so
into
hard,
it,
yeah.
and then that affects so much more. But when you're in the moment, it is just about, hey, I'm just trying to play.
Yeah.
Right, trying to play as well as I can, given the circumstances, given the people that are there, given how much money we're playing for.
Sure, yeah.
Like all those things really come into account. But it's to say it's your normal walk into the casino and get your chips and play, no chance.
Yeah. And it's also
totally
because,
different.
like, Garrett, Andy, and Chris, they've been playing with each other for a long time.
Sure.
So, like, even though I know them, like, decently well,
Right.
I don't know the chemistry between them.
Sure.
Yeah. That's
Sure.
why, if you hear me on commentary, I'm just like, look, I know what relations I have with, certain pros or
one.
people.
Sure.
Yeah. Or my relations with them.
Exactly.
But I don't know their relations with each other.
each other,
So a
yeah.
lot of it, like, that really, jurisdicts a lot of.
No, and even
what
just
goes
from
down.
somebody who's played with them a couple times now, like it's very competitive. The
Yeah.
relationships.
Oh yeah.
These guys, like, it's funny because especially Garrett's like he's such a like perfect balance of obviously phenomenal player,
Yeah.
right, on one side, super charismatic on
Sure.
the other side, which is cool. But no, he'll go from having the most ridiculous conversation, or anybody on the table having the like super ridiculous conversation, to now, hey, we're gonna play a big
Hard,
one just
yeah.
for all of it, you know?
Right.
And like those small, but these they're at each other, and before and after it's, hey, cool, how you doing? How's the family? Whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
During it's none of that,
Right.
and then after it's same thing. Hey, how's your family? Whatever, so that is very interesting to see. How people act before, how people act after, how much more calm it is.
Absolutely.
But when you're on, you got to be on, or
Yeah.
you got to try to be on. I was trying to be on this week.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's a lot of pressure and just
Yeah.
like, man, people who don't do the grind,
Yeah.
don't know that it's very exhausting, and just like as a professional player, there's a lot of pressure to keep playing,
Yeah.
to get through the variants, and
Sure.
then you can have moments of weakness, or your opponents are good players, they can just
Yeah.
outplay you, and then guess what?
That's
You're
it.
out of luck. Yeah, you're out of luck.
Yeah, there's like nothing you can do there. Yeah, and yeah, so much of it too is just like you always say, like all the commentators always say, it's 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
Right? We're playing for however long we're after.
Yeah.
Or even if you're not, even if you just only play on stream, it's still such a small
It's very small
sample
samples.
size.
Yeah.
And people play differently. That's the other thing that like I didn't necessarily take into account.
Yeah.
People totally play differently on
Yeah.
stream versus off stream.
Right.
You can play with somebody just out on the normal floor and then play with them on the show, and it's
Yeah. Night
it's
and
a
day.
different game,
Yeah.
man. Or versus how they perceive you.
Yeah.
And I think like because I do watch these guys, they've obviously never seen me play. My perceptions can kind of come into like, hey, how I'm going to play certain hands against these guys, and it doesn't mean that it's right,
Sure.
because like they
yeah.
may just be playing differently. Like it's just
It's a game,
it's a game.
it's a constant evolution process.
Absolutely.
And as we know, like, it's easy to just like jump in one time, take a shot at these guys, and then, but to play them day in and day out,
Sure.
and year after year,
Sure.
that's where it gets kind of tough.
Yeah, couldn't
So-
imagine.
Yeah, so I wanted to go back to
Yeah.
the topic you brought up before, which is like, at 35, why it's just like, the family thing,
Yeah.
and just like, it's just not that important anymore. And one of the
That makes sense.
luxuries that poker has is you could step down in stakes, or, I'm a house player now,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll be a favor in the mid stakes.
Sure.
And I just like, I have the luxury of not even have to being cutthroat
Correct.
anymore.
Right.
And like, I'm just a different player. I soft plays than people. I give people lucky chips because of my position
100%
here.
where you're at, right,
yeah,
right.
and like that's something I would never do before.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not like never, but
Sure.
just like very sparingly.
No, it also makes sense, like you said, like being able to do that, focus on your outside interest, versus if you had to play in games
Oh.
like this consistently.
Yeah, your mind's just like
Yeah,
you have to focus.
and just the
everything.
guys that are consistently playing, talking to them, they're not doing much else besides
Yeah.
this, right? As far as active, like
Very
they may
hard.
own different things or be invested in different things, but actively working them.
Yeah.
No, they're actively working this.
Yeah.
And that's a different thing too. Of like if you're trying to build whatever else you're trying to build, it makes
Right.
sense. Hey, let me be mid stakes. Let me have something more consistent.
Yeah.
And focus on these other 10 things that I'm trying to get off the ground.
Absolutely.
Because it's almost impossible to try to do that and not.
And
you know?
people have asked, am I going to go back? Like,
Sure.
I'm never going to grind off camera
Sure.
high stakes ever again.
Right.
But I will come back on to play
Sure.
high stakes on camera.
Yeah.
Because, like, what's the worst that can happen? I lose
You
this
lose.
in a
You
couple
lose.
sessions. Yeah.
Right.
It's
Right,
like,
right.
it's my life's not going
Right.
to depend on it.
Sure.
But
And
yeah, it's
I
just
think
like,
it's cool too. I think it would be cool too from somebody who watches this so much to see you and to see it's great when JJ jumps in there. It's
Yeah.
great when the guys that are the guy Swan that commentated on one
Adam
of the games.
Swan,
Adam, I played with him Tuesday, then he commentated Thursday. I think that's great, right? I
yeah,
think the guy
our
that
issue is
commentated,
like, JJ and our schedule, and then we
Sure.
give up our seats a lot.
which makes sense.
Yeah.
Of
So,
course. No,
like,
you just got to be courteous. Of
Yeah.
No, which also
Yeah.
it makes a lot of sense. It's just cool to see. It was like the opposite.
We
The
get
guy
show
that
chops,
yeah, the guy that commented Tuesday played Thursday. The guy that played Tuesday commentated Thursday. That's phenomenal, you
Right.
know, because it's like keeping it all within. Look, these guys are playing, right? And
Yeah.
then they're also know what they're actually talking about, hopefully.
Yeah.
And,
No, that used to be a problem
know,
with poker commentators is
bet.
like they would just like yap behind you, just like never playing camera,
It's
and
still
that
a
would
problem.
be a big pet peeve.
It's
of
still
mine.
a problem. Some
Yeah.
of the other big games are going that the commentary on those isn't a player that's playing in them.
Right.
Or we see it when like the WSOP and the tournament stuff like that, and it's not necessarily players that are
Yeah.
playing in those. So like yeah, I can see from like it's also not as it's never as good. The best commentators are
The
going to be
ones
the
that
guys that
hands
are
on.
100%. The
Yeah.
guys that are playing them.
Yeah.
Right? If you're a 1-2 player and you're commentating, 25, 50, 100 or whatever, there's nothing wrong with being a 1-2 player,
Right.
but like you just may not be able to commentate that game.
That's why, like,
you know?
I like when there's a small stake team, like 2-3. A lot of us start from the very bottom, so I
course.
really like those, even though the
Yeah.
viewership's low, because I
Sure.
could give a lot of insight on
Absolutely.
like how you break
Sure.
out of those things,
Yeah.
and just
Yeah, no,
everything
and
along
that's
the way.
it's the same thing when you guys do like the limit streams, right? The chat will go crazy, they'll get real trolly. I appreciate that as somebody who's I think played limit once in my life, being able to learn, right? You're talking, but I'm listening and I'm learning. I don't know limit, right?
Yeah.
I don't especially you guys have gotten some pretty big limit games on, right? And
We're gonna
like,
get some bigger ones too.
yeah, so that's cool. Same thing with PLO, explaining it. Hey guys, this isn't like a get lucky game. Hey,
Yeah.
yes, you are going to start off and be a super fish, but you can actually learn, get
One
better,
thing
adjust.
I had to learn about the commentary is a
Yeah.
lot of people who play the different game. So I played more than No Limit Hold'em. Say like Dan Zach, Sean Snyder,
Yeah.
and stuff. They play way more games than me. But
course.
say I have a pool of like 10 games. What other people are so defensive about the game, like, oh, Limit Hold'em's so good, PLO's so
Right.
good. I'm like, no, you have to tell them the difference between that game and No Limit Hold'em, because televised poker is literally all No Limit Hold'em.
Exactly.
So that's something that I had to learn and adjust,
Sure.
to be like, oh, this concept's different. So let's tell the No Limit Hold'em players,
Right.
when they jump in, this is different, and then kind of go from there.
For sure. No, it makes a lot of sense. It's also like it's not a 25-25 PLO stream for the most part. Like, yeah, if
Yeah.
you're gonna get a humongous PLO stream,
Oh,
for
it's
sure.
coming up.
No, and that's great,
Yeah.
right? And then hey, the people that are maybe even going to be tuning in there talk on a lot higher level.
Yeah.
But when it's a normal 5-10 or 5-5 whatever, like hey, talk about it at a normal level, because
Yeah.
most people don't play that or have jumped in, get crushed, or don't know what they're doing or whatever. So like even I think a lot of that stuff makes sense from the commentary side.
Yeah.
Just as somebody who doesn't even play those games much. But
Have you
it's just,
tried?
it's-
Or are you
no,
gonna-
so no PLO. I've more than dabbled in PLO. Trust me. Gotten crushed in some games. Ran really well in others, but no. PLO I've definitely played. Limit I think I played once, waiting for another game. But it's good to just be able to, as like if I'm gonna play, I'm not gonna play those games for the most part, right?
Yeah. It's like if you're waiting, it's okay.
For sure. So like, but it's good to be educated on them,
Sure.
right? If the best, because it's also like a lot of what you guys have been saying of like, hey, the future goes more and more and more and more. The best games are just going to be those games, right? They're not going to be, because they're not for the most part even now. Like at anybody who's watching, even at the local casino by me, the best game that gets going is the PLO game.
Yeah.
Right? It's going to bring
I
the
agree.
most action, the most fish, the most people, just money. Just the most money is always going to be in the PLO game at wherever you play across the country.
Yeah.
For the most part.
That's what
So-
I encourage a lot of and actually I don't encourage pros now to branch off the Limit Hold'em, because a lot of us have like 1 million hands online and 100,000 hands live. I do encourage like PLO and mixed game.
Yeah.
I don't know if a mixed game is the way to go now, because there's
Mixed game, you're talking about the big mix, right? You're not talking about
Yeah.
like half and half or something.
no, yeah, big
talking about
mix,
the big
something
mix,
like
yeah.
what starts with like Badoogie Deuce
Sure.
7, and then Omaha 8 or better, Stud 8 or better, and then it goes into like Badesi, Badusi, like
Sure.
Drama Haas. They're intimidating and they are complex,
Yeah.
but to explain one game is easier than to explain pocket tens and hold'em.
I bet.
So
Sure.
it's just like these mixed games are not. There's like definitive, simple to define strategy. Something like Omaha 8 or better or Stud 8 or better. You go for low and backdoor and high.
Sure.
Sometimes, like in Omaha 8 or better, the board doesn't run out so low as possible. Then there's more skill involved.
Sure.
But really, the basic is like
Basic.
go for low, backdoor and high.
Is it also a thing of like because no limits changing so much, so consistently, like no limit strategies specifically,
I think that
these other ones don't change as much.
this
Is
is
that why it's easier to explain, I guess?
this is the thing about No Limit Hold'em. It's been broadcast for over 15 years.
Yeah.
So even if players aren't, say, like crushers,
Right.
they get better just because they watch and they
Yeah.
can just emulate,
Yeah.
better players, so
Yeah,
to say.
absolutely.
And I mean that, and winning in poker is about having a better comparative advantage. So when the whole bottom line is moving up, they may not be better than you, but
Right.
but your comparative advantage is getting smaller.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So that's the thing of like, if you're playing for fun,
Sure.
play whatever you want.
Exactly.
But if you're
Doesn't
playing
matter.
for profitability, you gotta start thinking
More.
where you're
Right.
gonna make more money.
Right.
The upside for limit hold'em is that there's more consistent action in LA. So many of us, and JJ will acknowledge this
Yeah.
as well, encourage JJ to. And No Limit Hold'em will never leave you. If it's the best game in the house, by all means, play it. Yeah.
It just may not be.
Yeah, it just frequently isn't. But yeah, just like PLO and mixed game, you if you head in that direction, and you now have choices, and
Right.
oftentimes in 2020 it's very black and white. Your win rate's going to be higher in
Right.
the side game,
Right.
and it's arguable that a win rate in limit hold'em's higher just because you have more consistent action, but the variance is higher in limit hold'em. So it is
Right.
what it is,
Okay.
and that's when I'm really detached from the pure professional player now, because I get
Right.
subsidized,
Sure.
and I don't know the right answer.
Yeah.
But I do know, don't just stick to No Limit
Sure.
Hold'em.
Absolutely.
That part's sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically it. Just, and then just like when you get older, you have more responsibilities. Hopefully, you develop more abilities, and
Yeah.
poker's just one of many skill sets you can develop, just
Absolutely.
like bodybuilding.
Exactly. Or powerlifting.
I mean, power. Sorry,
No, you're
God,
good,
that
you're
guy. You just educated
good.
me, and I just blew it.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. It's also good. Like, I mean, I love No Limit Poker specifically because it's so competitive.
Yeah.
I'm just a competitive person. That's it, right? Like, same thing. It's like I can come out, I can play wherever, whenever. I choose not to for the most part because it's not going to be as fun for me coming out here and going into, again, what I perceive as lineups of not being a favorite. That's fun for me, right? I want to jump into the toughest game. I'm not the professional of like, oh, I want the softest lineups, the most action.
Yeah.
I just want to show up and play,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And with these guys, right?
Right.
Give me Andy. Give me not give them to me like, oh, I'm better.
All the time,
I want to
yeah.
play them. Of
course, yeah.
like it's fun.
Yeah.
As somebody who doesn't get to play much, it's very I don't know. I think fun is the word. It's like that gets me going. You know, that's gonna have me take a 6-hour flight out here. With my family is gonna be able to come doing stuff like that. And that to me is like the best part of it.
Right.
The money's cool. Winning is great. Obviously, if I went out here and got crushed.
Oh,
that'd
you
be
did
terrible.
some really good plays. We're about to
Cool.
put them
cool,
on.
Cool.
Yeah, let's do that now.
Yeah,
And then-
yeah, cool.
So,
That's a good one.
do you have any special attachment in '96? This is the married couple, right? Their backs are to each other. They're sleeping on the other side of the bed.
Exactly. Yeah, they called it so many names when we were playing this.
So Julie raises Jack 9 of hearts, and then 3 people come along, including the 69 or the 96, and you turn 2 pair.
Yeah. So I turned 2 pair here, and it's interesting, right? Because
Garrett that out.
Yep, which he does. That's what he does, and
This is not an easy decision, too. Obviously, 7-8 is the nuts.
Yeah. So my thing was like with action behind, I thought it made sense. If I was closing the action, I'd be raising there very, very often. With action behind, I thought first of all I could potentially be beat. That's not necessarily my concern. I was more so concerned about like letting drawish type hands come in behind me as well, because they're more so going to be they're deader money than me. I feel like I did have the best hand a lot of the times. So I think that's why calling to me made a little bit of sense there. Specifically with James behind, who wasn't playing a ton of hands. I think it was just more so just card dead. It made sense. And then with this river,
Four-liner to straight.
four-liner straight. So I thought that I maybe didn't have the best hand here, right? I was listening back to this one, and JJ was saying, he was like, oh, like Marcus going for really thin value here. I think he was even saying it was maybe even a good play, or I don't know if he said it was a good or bad play. I thought I maybe just didn't have the best hand anymore. So I wasn't like, hey, let me go super thin here and try to get called. It was more so like, look, obviously four-liners there, backdoor diamonds come in. So even if somebody potentially had a better two-pair hand, I thought maybe even set-type hands. If Julie or Garrett randomly had a set there, I would be able to get them to fold a hand like that, potentially. So that was more so my thinking, not, hey, let me try to go for value here. I thought I may not have the best hand.
You're the one there. Like,
Yeah.
there's so many things that we...
Yeah. But it is kind of a weird bet, I guess. Even looking back at it now, it's like, that's kind of super mergy. Don't necessarily know if that's like the best play.
So in this one, Chris Brewer
a fun
has
one.
eights raising the cutoff, and you 3-bet out of small blind with pocket jacks.
And this hand just plays.
Chris calls. It's a really interesting hand. Raggedy board, which gets the middle pairs into trouble a lot.
Yeah, so it's obviously pretty good board for my hand. Pretty good board for his hand too, though, right? Not his exact hand, but just hands he kind of should be having there. So c-bet makes sense. I'm going to be c-betting most all boards. Downsides, which I don't do much at all, actually. Just I really don't like it in general. But here I thought, well, a lot of things I thought with Chris that would make that sizing make the most sense, I think. And then we get this turn, and this is obviously a pretty not so great turn for my hand. Didn't really like it in game for his range, what his range is supposed to be there. And even for getting ranges, just for him, I thought he would barrel at a card like this, whether he had it or not, just because he had barreled at good turn cards for him like this, whether he had it or not. So just kind of wanted more so to see what he was going to do. And we did. He bets. Let's let it play out,
2,500.
which is a big bet.
Yeah, 4K
Right?
pot. He bets 2,500. And this is a rough spot because you're out of position. He gets reads on you too.
Right. And I thought he could have some hands like this. I thought he could obviously have straights here. He could have sets here. He could have hands that are better than mine. But I still have a club, which is good.
And he rivers a straight flush.
Until you get this club. Right? So I was like, well, clubs are really, really good for me. I have a lot higher clubs. Right? I should have a lot higher clubs than he should have. I do have a high club. This is a 3-bet pot, so he shouldn't be having much. He could have ace of clubs, king of clubs, I guess.
Yeah, if he had
queen of
like
clubs, obviously.
if he just called your c-bet with like ace king with the ace of clubs or something like that.
Yeah, ace queen, ace of clubs. There's a lot of hands he could have here that do be mine. But this particular run out, it was just rough. I think he asked me how much I had back here.
Should flex and just be like, "What'd you say? What'd you say?"
Yeah. Well, I got into a weird spot the other night too, where somebody asked me how much I had, and then I told them, and then they said they couldn't see it, and it was exactly how much I had. I'm like, I don't understand. So everybody's like, "Oh, you don't actually have to tell them." I was like, "No, I don't know. I don't like weird kind of like. I don't want anybody to think like I'm ever trying to angle or do anything like that."
Right.
I think he was just kind of confused with with how I added it, and it was rough. I don't know. To me, I was like, you know what? This is this is a really rough spot. It didn't.
And imagine if you lay down winner. Now it's on the internet for all time.
100%. Yeah, I didn't know like what kind of bluffs does he have, right? Like I thought if say the 7 of clubs doesn't come,
Yeah.
and it's just a total brick, another deuce, or even any higher card, a king or anything, I may have called him down, just depending, I guess, on what his sizing was. The fact that it was a club is good for me, but it's not if he's betting for this size on the river. It's just there's not a lot of bluffs he can have.
And you make a great fold.
Yeah, I thought he had a
Higher flush.
a higher flush. Yeah, not necessarily
High flush, not a straight flush.
Yeah, not a straight flush, obviously.
So here,
I I haven't
kind of
seen
misses.
this
Garrett
one.
raises in the cutoff, and you call on the button ace-4 off, and you guys flop an ace. I think it was a bet call. And
No. Okay, so I remember this one. It was bet raise. So he bet and I raised.
Oh, okay.
And then I think we go check on the turn. Yeah. Bet raise.
Got it. Yeah, you're
So
right.
bet raise, he calls hard on the turn. We go check, and I thought kind of exactly what happened. I didn't see his hand until just now, like what he actually had in the hand, but I thought he had a hand-ish like that, right, where we're going to be chopping a lot. I have to bet. I have a very good hand. 3 aces, king, queen, right? So like my, what is it?
2,300 to 34.25.
I don't know if I like that sizing, actually.
Well, this is rough because Garrett can only beat a bluff, and he's just like
Right. Yeah, this is interesting.
very interesting hand.
Yeah, yeah. Looking back at it now, I didn't know if he had that exact hand. I thought like hands like that though may potentially fold, maybe not. Right, and we're just chopping. I chopped a couple other hands. I chopped one with Julie where we had the same hand.
Yeah.
Same thing like trip aces, no kickers.
Right. But that was like bet call.
Yeah, this one was a little bit easier because it was
You're in position too.
in position, which I did try to go after Garrett. Probably not a smart move long term. A lot last night just because I did have position on him, luckily.
Yeah.
And he was just kind of more so running into it. But yeah, it's also like my kicker doesn't matter, right? We have king, queen on board.
Yeah.
And this guy,
You even chop
man,
with ace jack.
I can never, ever hold the face.
yeah.
It's like I don't know how anybody like Andy. Garrett would go at Andy, and Andy would just sit there and take it all. Won't change his professional.
Yeah,
He's a
they've been
professional.
playing each other for over 10 years.
He'll make
Maybe
jokes
15,
and
yeah.
say stuff, and I was like,
And you
can't.
get him to fold a chop.
Fold the
Shout out
chop.
to Marco Galindo.
Sheesh.
I wish I could make Garrett fold chops.
That was an interesting one.
And this was the one you came in November, I believe.
Yeah.
The lovely Kitty Quo. Julie's in this one too. And there's Jeremy. And he folds the 9-6. How bad is that?
Seriously.
Well, you got a little suited ace here, you know, and you raised 3x. Taylor Carroll. Shout out to Taylor Carroll.
Taylor. Yeah, shout out to Taylor.
Defends.
Taylor was the original.
Chat.
Yeah,
it came
I'm
from
the
chat,
guy
now I
in
hear.
the chat. Yeah, this is the Taylor Carroll mod. That's what I'm trying to follow. Raise, get a good flop here.
He flops open-ended. You flopped in the flush draw.
Good flop, I guess, for both hands.
It's just always hard, I feel like. Or maybe not.
And Taylor, good player. Obviously, aggressive player. Excuse me. Does barrel. Get a good turn.
So now it's way ahead, way behind.
Exactly.
You have top pair.
Right.
And the flush draw.
$25, so you
Yeah, and I thought
don't get
check.
You just
back-
like hate to get raised if you bet.
Yeah, that'd be terrible because we weren't. Well, I guess there's not really. I was gonna
It's
say we
not
weren't.
that much, but you just don't like. I mean, I totally agree with you checking.
Yeah, I thought I'd be able to get a bit on the river, kind of regardless of what the river was. I was gonna be betting.
And that was actually an ugly river.
Yeah, until he bets, and then it puts us in over bets, right? Over bets here. Puts in a pretty.
Bet 900 into 800, I
I think
believe.
11. It's 11 maybe.
Or is the graphic?
Oh no, you're right. No, you're right.
Pot size bet, although it doesn't feel pretty.
Third one, I went
Yes, this was an interesting one.
bring out the banana costume, roll in there. And then fourth one, I went
And then just trying to figure it out.
FBI agent.
Like you said, way ahead, way behind.
Yeah.
I know the say, but
Jack is a bad river, huh? That's not,
It was pretty bad, yeah.
not a good
I mean,
one because he has a lot.
He does have clubs in his
You
hand,
do
so
call.
it's less enticing.
So, easy game.
Yeah.
Marco does make
It helps that Taylor Carroll is a very capable player. Is capable.
For
of-
sure. No, 100%. Yeah, different player, maybe different.
Maybe really
yeah,
tough
maybe
call.
fold.
bet by Taylor.
What is this one?
Yeah, I mean, you had quite a few interesting hands. You raising the cutoff, king 10 off, and Seed 8 James calls with the hashtag implied odds hand. Jack 9 of clubs on the button. Chris Brewer calls ace
I
four
don't even
off.
remember this one.
The back door, no
I
flush.
played a lot of hands.
Well, I'm
man.
gonna. Yeah, I know.
I pipped like
So you see
a
bet,
bajillion yesterday.
and Chris is gonna defend, and then you pick up the nut
Okay.
flush draw and
Yes,
a gut
yes, yes.
shot.
Okay.
This is where Marco could put the hammer
Good
down.
turn. Very good turn from my hand. Yeah, no flush blocker. What do we... That's a good size.
And the hammer has been put down. Well done by Marco.
Whoa, Marco!
Winner,
snap, oh,
winner.
snap. Oh, this is just back on the.
Cool.
So
So
Those
many,
are
there
your
were a couple really
hands.
good ones from Tuesday too. I think that was the one where Nick and David, remember they got it
Yep.
on the flop and went quads.
oh, I guess I missed that.
Yeah.
But
I think
shout to hand of the day.
seriously, Patrick. I think he said he's gonna make. I think
course, yeah.
he said he's gonna make a compilation. There was a couple. I had a big bluff against Hiracha, I think, and then me, Hiracha, and Francisco played like a 20K pot in that one.
I better go back and watch it.
Yeah, no. Tuesday, the last like hour, 2 hours on Tuesday were sick. Just some huge hands. Francisco ran really bad in like 3 or 4 of them, but
That's poker, man.
it is, man. Yeah, so it was, yeah, that was cool. But no, I think Patrick said he's going to put a video together of all those, which was cool.
Sounds good. And we're going to post all your links below.
Cool. Really cool. Yeah.
And we have some videos of you powerlifting, which I couldn't fit on this video, but I'm going
No,
to
you're
tag
good.
on right after.
Cool.
So I'm going to put them together.
Sweet.
So thanks for coming in.
Absolutely,
And
man.
if you
Yeah.
want to come back,
I'll be back. Yeah, a couple months. I told all the guys yesterday. I'll be back in a couple months. I'll reach out to you, reach out to them.
Okay. All right.
So,
So
cool.
watch the powerlifting.
Yes.
All right.
Powerlifting. Yeah. Cool.
I got it, guys. I got it. All right. Peace.
See you guys.